Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au. Welcome everybody to episode 80 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. I am your host, Russell Gibson, and today we have a very special guest, Aidos Uchos. And Aidos, welcome aboard, mate.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Here to talk about some cards today. So, I don't know, people probably maybe know me from the Facebook. I add a little bit to the card chat.
Definitely.
But yeah.
And you're pretty heavy on the Facebook page of the group too, so... Yeah, thanks for your contributions. It's great.
No, all good. I just like to sort of add my 2 cents in for for the hobby, whether it's a joke or a gag or something like that. But been collecting for a couple of years. My boy Şengün, I like the Şengün.
So what's the high end? What's the ceiling on Şengün, do you think?
I don't know. I kind of just really like him. So I think I've said to you before, like he's got the run. Walks like a duck, can't really jump that high, gets the rebounds, and is starting to shoot a bit better, I think. But yeah, I think the Rockets got a new coach.
Yeah, they did
today, and so I think there's a bit of room to grow for him. Whether it's people call him the baby Jokic.
Yeah, so that was actually what I was going to ask you about. What do you think? Is that a fair comparison? Is it unfair? Is it putting too much pressure on him? Or do you think it's actually a nice one?
Well, in terms of like his card value, I don't know if it's possibly the smartest thing because Jokic's cards aren't really worth that much for what he's sort of achieved, like a double MVP, possibility of a third.
So do you think that Joker's undervalued? Is that what you're saying?
I think he might be. Like, depending on what happens, I guess, this year with who wins the chip.
Like, my problem with Joker is that I actually, in totality, I do agree, like, he's undervalued. But to actually go out and buy, like, a silver PSA 10, like, that's still, like, $8,000 US or something like that, like, it's... So, yes, he's undervalued, but at the same time, it's, like, a really decent piece of cheddar you need to, like... To
throw it there and get So well, I mean, hopefully, $8,000 does sound pretty good if that's what Şengün stuff gets up to. Because like I was picking up some of his cards, particularly just like variations of his Prizm rookie for like a couple of bucks. Like sometimes it'd be like $3, all that kind of stuff. But
I find that quite ironic, actually. Like Prizm is like the product. And the Prizm rookie is like, again, like the chase card. But if it's not a silver and it's not numbered, literally people don't care.
Yeah. Which
that's like, even with bigger players, it's the same thing,
Yeah, the numbered stuff comes out of the first of the line. Is that?
Well, you can get numbered across all the different variations, hobby, photo.
Oh, yeah. I've just never come across one.
Even retail, there's the pink pulse out of 42, for example.
Yeah, I think there was a break here the other day, actually, where I saw this year's Luka, or actually maybe 2022 of 5 Luka came out.
Yeah.
What
color was it? Was that the black gold? Or was that
the black and gold? Yeah.
Yeah, those are mint.
Yeah. Which I think he had it graded by SGC and it's come back at a 9.5. So
interesting, graded with SGC, eh?
Yeah, I think it was the turnaround and possibility of the cheaper way to do it, I guess. So there's no markup on it.
Yeah.
Which let's just say I can't remember off the top of my head. I think he did it through Slabbed and it was like the $38 SGC.
Yep. So back in his hands in a couple of weeks. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I guess if you want to sell it and make your money off it to get back into some breaks, I guess. I don't think you're going to pull much better than that though. But yeah. So back to Şengün. So yeah, picking up his like Prizms, silver Prizm rookies for like $8.
Yeah.
And then he sort of started playing well, and now they're not that much more expensive. I think they've gone up to they might be 50 raw.
That's still pretty high though for someone like Şengün, I think.
Oh, come on, Russ.
No, that's pretty high.
Yeah, I was bidding on a PSA 10 the other day, and I can't remember what.
No, but seriously though, think about what Houston is and what they've done. They're an absolute dumpster fire.
Yes, no, I didn't actually watch much of their stuff this year, to be honest. I did tend to see a lot of Şengün's highlights on his own Instagram, which I thought was quite funny.
I don't want to lead you into it, but really the reason why you didn't watch much is because they were so terrible. They were pretty bad.
Yeah. Which even the inconsistency with Jalen Green, and I'm not even a Rockets fan. I guess I'm more of a basketball fan, so I'll watch any of the games. I've definitely got players that I dislike, and so looking at different players. But I think that definitely that the Houston Rockets have some work to do to get up there. But if the draft pick goes their way, which everyone's trying to get that dude, and they've got this new coach, they might be able to turn it around.
So can we really quickly talk about Ime Udoka being hired by the Rockets? Because this is not specifically card related, but now you've brought it up, it is kind of juicy.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty fair to say that he was at least a top 10 coach in the league. And in terms of the young coaches in the league, I'd say he was top 3.
Yeah.
So for the reason why the Celtics let him go, which is really a non-basketball related thing, and I don't want to downplay anything that he did or sound non-PC, but to me it sounded quite extreme that they let him go. And maybe there was something else that sort of went along with it. And I feel that's the same a little bit too with the Hawks picking up the coach that they did recently. It's almost like one team's loss is just another team's gain. And I really think in this instance, it's the Houston Rockets gain here and the Celtics loss. So I think this is, if you're rebuilding, this is the type of coach that you want on board. And in my sort of idealistic head, he's the type of guy that you keep around for 10 years, 15 years, sort of a pop coach, honestly.
Yeah.
So where are you sitting with the hire of Udoka?
I think it'll be pretty good because I've heard he's quite tough on the players.
Yeah.
So I think especially with the sort of young list that they have, you have to get that leadership from somewhere. And if that's sort of a tough coach, then I think, that it has some potential to produce some better outcomes for them, at least. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, but hopefully snag a few players in the draft pick. And whether that's, is it Wembanyama? Is that how you say his name?
That's pretty good.
Not too bad.
It's a tough one, yeah.
But then also if they get him, what happens to Şengün?
So I think if that is the case, you can't have Şengün running around at power forward. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I would say he'll get moved.
Yeah.
And
it'll be interesting. But I think, I don't know, I think there's enough there for Şengün that he'll be all right. He'll be okay.
Yeah. And look, if he's as skilled as Joker, if that's what you're proposing, he'll have a great career. Alrighty.
We'll see. I've got a few cards in it slabbed at the moment for him. So
yeah.
We'll see what they
I got a couple of comps for you, which actually I think you might be interested. $110, a Spectra RPA to 99.
Oh yeah.
$91 for a Silhouettes from Crown Royal RPA to 199.
Yeah.
Now this is an interesting one. A Cosmic out of Select, $103.
Yeah,
and his rookie ticket, the Contenders Optic, again, that I'm pretty sure that's on card autograph, to 75, 111. I would say these sales are extremely strong.
Yeah.
So there must be, you're not the only person in the Şengün train for sure.
I think.
But then, we talk about the variants on the Prizm, the red, white, and blue, $2.28.
Yeah. So the Prizm variations are pretty cheap.
Yeah.
As well as is the Optic Blue Velocity.
Sure.
So I've picked up some of those for $4.
Yeah. That's unnumbered, yeah?
Unnumbered, yeah. It's just
you overpaid by 4 times, mate. One just sold for $1 recently.
Are you joking? This card market, it's falling. It's falling, Russ.
Alrighty. I want to get your take on the last episode where we really quickly went through Monopoly. Where do you sit with that? Because you texted me today the checklist for Monopoly. So
yeah, I can't get over the irony really of Panini coming out with an NBA product called Monopoly as well. But just, yeah, I think I text you that Monopoly was not to get political or anything like that, but
No, please get political. Yeah.
Monopoly was a game that was created to show that capitalism sort of doesn't work for everyone. There's one person that sort of wins. But anyway, just I think going through the variations of the prisms. So in the normal product of Panini, in the prism, there's how many variations would you say are in that? Just the regular product.
So I would say, just off the top of my head, it's about 40.
Yeah.
Maybe up to 50. Yeah.
Yeah. So with this, they've added another. It looks like 20. And
it's astronomical, isn't it? Can we really quickly just read through that?
Yeah. So we've got silver prisms, a boardwalk blue tiger stripe prism, free parking prism. That's in the I Collect blaster. We have the Go Space prism. We have the Handshake Deal prisms. Monopoly Black Classic Icons prism. That's in the board game only. We have the Question Mark prisms, Red Dice prisms, Running Mr. Monopoly prisms, Teal Wave prisms, White Sparkle prisms, Gold Money Shimmer prisms out of 500. So I think if you were to open one of these packs and pull a gold card, would you normally just think that it was numbered to 10, perhaps?
My belief is that they should be numbered to 10.
Yeah, so that's out of 500.
Yeah.
And then we have a
gold
brown
should be to 10. I think that's like set in stone. Yeah.
So the next one is brown prism. Do you think that should be out of 2? So that one's out of 249. We have the light blue prisms, 199. Pink prisms out of 149. Orange prism out of 124. Red money shimmer prism out of 100. Red prism out of 99. Purple money shimmer prism out of 50. Gold prism out of 49. Green prisms out of 24. Green money shimmer prisms out of 20. Blue prisms out of 15. Blue money prism shimmer prism out of 10. Gold wave money prism out of 10. Neon green prism out of 10. Black gold prisms out of 5. Money pink shimmer prism out of 5. Black prism 1 of 1, and white money shimmer prism 1 of 1. So that's about maybe even 30 more.
My head already had a headache a couple of days back reading through the list from just the standard, and then to add that into it too. I'm a bit confused as to sort of, where we're headed at the moment. And look, some people have predicted that Panini are just going to just print as much as they possibly can before their license, closes up. And this is maybe some evidence to that sort of theory.
Yeah, well...
So I've seen some listings on eBay for cases of the blasters for $1,200 US.
Yeah.
I just don't see where buying that ends up other than losing half of your money in 6 months.
Well, yeah, no, I think it comes back to like a flippable product, perhaps. Like getting what do you think about that? Because I don't think anyone's going out there and like buying a whole case of these just to open them.
So my feeling about that is that if you're selling it for $1,200, that's the flip. The flip isn't to buy it at $1,200.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So someone's bought it for however much they are.
Yeah.
Either retail or wholesale.
Say $20 or $25 a box.
Yeah.
There's 20 boxes in a case, so they're making $800 US profit. I think that's more likely to me what's happening than
absolutely.
This is a good investment at $1,200. Do you know what I mean? I'm very, very, very pessimistic in this space about this. For me, it's almost like a complete stay away.
Yeah. Which, some of the cards, they just look like variations of Prizm cards, and they've got a fun border on the outside. But like, how much do people that like basketball cards like Monopoly? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about that too. Yeah. So I feel like we've been talking about the negatives a lot about this. So for me, the positive is there's a basketball Monopoly game, and I'm definitely getting one, by the way. Are you going to pick one up?
I think I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to repurpose the cards that I've already got and just write the numbers on the back, because I'm sure I'll be able to find like the backs of cards somewhere. Or I'm just going to try and
Yeah.
pick them up aftermarket. That's what my
Yeah.
plan is. Yeah.
Well, I think that sounds like a solid plan, because you can't use the base cards, was it? In
You need the actual base cards to play the game. And
Oh, you
that's the other,
need.
you need the cards to play the game. That's sort of like a little bit of the catch. But the other thing too is, like, when you get a good Pokemon card, you don't play with that card. You always put it in a penny sleeve in the top loader. So that
Yeah.
for me is kind of the other thing too. Like, not that I've learned something from Pokemon, but you're not going to use those good cards in the game anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you got the Paolo 1 of 1 black.
And you're just
I don't
sliding
think
it
you
around
really.
the board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because like I haven't seen the squares. Like, is it like stadiums, or is it?
It looks like it's games and matchups of when teams were playing on particular days. Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because it always does seem like the last money grab of any sort of pop culture item, that they eventually just come out with a Monopoly game.
Maybe it's as simple as that.
Uh,
And
Yeah.
I'm reading way too much into it, Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Alrighty. Prizm Hobby. What have you seen from it so far? What's your early impression?
I actually haven't seen that much of it
Yeah.
being opened up. Yeah, I think I was saying to you before, a few sick kids, so I haven't really had that much time to check out the openings, and even just get involved in breaks and stuff like that. I just haven't gotten into it. Have you been involved in any of it?
I haven't got into a break yet, but I'm just sort of looking around for the right one, to be honest. But so far, I would say my very early impression is the quality control looks a little bit better. And I would say, like, perpetually that's sort of the ongoing complaint, and rightfully so too. Like, I think, for what you pay for it, the quality control should be there.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I think the design is good, and I think the silvers look really good. I think they're going to be collectible, and people will definitely chase them quite heavily again. I've got no. I think so. For me, Prism is important because it really is the mantle product, and that it is the rookie card that people chase. So for me to make sure that it looks good, and now that's sort of ticked off that box for me, the rest of it is a little bit sort of almost elementary, to be honest. Like, I'll sort of take it or leave it as it sort of comes through, and same as the insert sets and stuff like that. I'll have a look when I get a bit more time into it, but no, I think they've
yeah,
done a good job.
yeah. I think so. I submitted a few cards from last year's prison set, um, and every single one got a 9 or less. So I didn't get any 10s from that. And whether it be just like a little dimple mark, or there was one issue I had with a Jalen Suggs Silver Prism rookie, and it wasn't a mark on top of the card. It was like in between the two layers. So the surface of the card was fine,
Yeah.
but it was like the underneath part of it. It just looked like it had something under there, which, yeah, I didn't grade that one. But yeah, there was about maybe, I don't know, 20 cards. Not that many. I'm sure people do a lot more than that. But yeah, to not get one back at a 10, and like I looked over them, I look over them pretty meticulously. And whether it be like the centering on the back compared to the front, yeah, it's just interesting. So hopefully the quality control's gotten a little bit better. Like, I've only seen a couple of stills of some of the Prism cards, but that seems to be the overwhelming response from what I've read from people opening them, is that the centering perhaps is
So
nicer.
just to preface, like, I think it is disappointing if you send 20 cards in and like nothing comes back at 10, like 100%. So, like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but I would probably, my next thought on that is, like, when you sort of zoom out of the lens a little bit and sort of look like, large scale, like the gem rate numbers is really good for sort of getting like a bit of context around that, like seeing how many cards are getting 10s, how many are getting 9s and that. And it's quite difficult to get a 10. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
actually, so this is obviously, it's a small sample size, and obviously it's very subjective in terms of like my assessment, and I don't think I'm anything good at it, but I opened, a reasonable amount of Prizm last year, and then I've also opened almost a case of retail now. I've only got a couple more boxes through, and I'm just about done. But that entire case that I've opened, I don't think one of the cards out of that will 10.
Yeah, right. Okay.
I wonder if the print run last year was just basically NQR.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Have you ever seen? I've only seen a short. One of my mates sent it to me of the way the cards actually get printed and packed. Have
I'm
you ever seen
surprised
it? It's
anything
like,
gems. Yeah, the speed that they come off
yeah,
those
yeah,
runners, man. It's
yeah. And then also, like, if you ever see any of the people signing the cards as well, any of the players signing, how they handle the cards as well. Which, I mean, they've got to sign so many. I kind of feel bad for how many they have to sign.
Yeah. So some of the players are really, really good about it, and some of the players literally don't care and throw them around like frisbees. And so my boy Darren Fox, he copped an insane amount of heat for a video that went viral of him, like very early in his career, but he was just like chucking them around. And to be honest, I think he was deliberately trying to like ding the corners. He was like frisbeeing them into boxes and stuff like that. And then he actually like changed his practices after that. Like someone literally like sat him down and sort of had a word to him about it. So
yeah,
yeah, it's no
yeah,
surprise that
yeah.
they
And then you
don't
get
gem.
someone
Yeah.
like Giannis is interesting because he collects cards, doesn't he? From what I understand.
He collects his own one of ones, yeah. And so I think part of it is he didn't return some of the cards he was sent out to sign, and he just sort of
Oh, right.
put them into his cupboard. I think he's
Interesting.
returned some of them now, but yeah, I mean, geez,
Yeah.
don't want a
What's
lawsuit on my hands for like, but
well, LeBron said he has a couple of his RPAs. I think he has what, two or three, maybe.
yeah,
So, no, it is interesting. But yeah, I guess yeah, you just get some players that would. Oh, I would hate to sit there and sign that many cards.
I don't know all the back end on it, but I'm assuming they agreed to sign, X number
Definitely,
of, yeah,
yeah, definitely. Well,
and
like when you're looking back to see, when you're a rookie, perhaps you're just on the base salary and you're just trying to, do everything that's sort of comes to you, and signing these cards, which is interesting because if you're the further on in those in the East and West playoffs that we're looking at where they were in the draft class as well. Just to see where players sort of came from and what their expectations, I guess, were for their career, and whether signing those cards is just like another chance at a bit of a money grab, and that's what they do. Trying to,
I think there'll be some players that money actually would make a difference to their quality of life, but I would say some of them, to be honest, it would be more of a hindrance, and they wouldn't even notice the money go into their bank.
yeah, definitely.
So I would say some of them would do it just because they, love their fans, and maybe even some of them collect. Do you know what I mean? Like it's more like their, not community service, but do you know what I mean? It's just like their contribution to like the NBA scene, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, interesting. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the playoffs. Let's talk about Phoenix Suns, and let's talk about Booker. You put this at the top of your list, and I'm good for that. So tell me about Booker. Where do you sit with him at the moment?
So he's one of the players that I sort of enjoy disliking. I'm not sure why. I think it's.
Nah, you can't say that and then not say why. You need to be like, I don't like Booker because of like da 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 da.
I think it's because some of the people that I know that like him, that might be the issue. like just friendly rivalry. They're like, oh, Booker's good, and he's just like, nah, I can't get around. But like, I mean, he's played extremely well in the last couple of games.
Yeah.
And looking at his card ladder, at his silver Prizm. So you had that up before, didn't you?
Yeah. So his PSA 10 last sold for $9.75. For me, what's really eye catching is his all time numbers. Like that graph is literally a skyrocket up and then a skyrocket down. So his all time high price was 7,900 USD. Then if you look at his 2 year numbers, he's down 86%. and his 1 year numbers. This is what I'm really surprised by. In the last 12 months, he's down 65%.
Yeah. So looking at when that other price spike was, can you pinpoint the date on what it was? Was it during the playoffs last time, or?
So when he sold for 7,900, that was on 22nd of December 2020. So basically,
Oh, you're right. Okay. So
I think that's like peak COVID.
2020.
So think
It
about
was
what we're
about.
doing.
It was about. Was it December? I think it was like December 1st, 2020, when everything sort of was it. I can't remember.
Don't get caught up on the facts
Peak
anyway.
COVID. Yeah, exactly right. But
I'm pretty sure that's like peak COVID.
yeah. And so is that sort of when everyone just started sitting at home looking at Devin Booker cards, or was there like a, what do you think was the catalyst for that price range?
Look, the whole market went absolutely berserk. And I think that if you were speculating and you're trying to get in on guys and, buy early, I think, Booker's a good one because he's still a really young kid.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of talent. And if you're asking me where I'm sitting on Booker at the moment, I think he's the best player in that series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, KD's been fantastic, but to me, really, Booker has been what's made them go. Despite, he's got Chris Paul on the team. Like, I get that, but I think Booker's been just absolutely fantastic, and he's been really tough. And I'd even go so far to say he's been defending pretty well too.
Yeah.
I really like what Devin Booker is all about, and he's also, like he's a confident guy, but he's not talking smack like old mate Dylan Brooks. And
Yeah. Well, I think I listened to something, and Devin Booker was talking about, when do you play defense? And he's like, I feel like I'm always playing defense, like something that he doesn't turn off. So I guess hearing that kind of stuff, it does sort of instill confidence, I guess, with possibly the purchase of some of his cards. But maybe I'm turning a corner on Devin Booker. Maybe he's all right.
So I suppose my sort of, pitch on Booker is like, so if you look at let's go back to say the last 12 months where he's down 65%, when is he going to hit the bottom? And the last few months he's still trending down a little bit, but you can sort of see the graph, it's like really flattened off. So
yeah, which
maybe
it'd be interesting to hold that up to like a lot of other players' cards and just to see whether that's like a similar trend over the market.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely is. It's to do with basically like whatever phrase you want to use, the burst of the bubble,
Yeah.
things cooling off. It's definitely to do with that. But I suppose where I'm sitting with him is, that 975 to me is really, then you can really start to look at other players. Like you could buy some all-timers, for that type of money.
Yeah.
So when you say it like that, maybe really what I'm saying also too is that that's overpriced really at that, isn't it? And so really interesting though, Card Ladder though has got the value at 990, and they generally will either value the card at what it is or unders. It's actually
Lower,
not that
yeah.
often where it sort of identifies like sort of a bit of value in the market. So that's interesting that they find Booker a little bit undervalued.
Yeah, I wonder if because they finished off the playoffs today, didn't they, against the Clippers? They won the series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Yeah, because like realistically, who do you think's the championship contenders out of who's left?
So in my own bracket, I actually picked Phoenix Suns to win.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Look, and this is probably my own sort of like area of weakness, but like the last couple of years, the teams that I've been sort of infatuated like was Brooklyn Nets because, having Kyrie, Harden, and Durant on the same team, that to me was just like, even if only two of them played or only two of them played well, like that's so much talent.
Yeah.
And so I think to see like that much talent on one team, and also too, the other thing that I really like about the Suns is like it's a veteran lot of talent. So maybe the example that comes to my head is like the Boston Celtics that year that they came together and won the championship. Like it was just the right time for that sort of veteran talent to go together, and all of the lessons that they've ever learned over the years, they were able to just put it into play and just do it. And I think there's been a lot of criticisms of Kevin Durant, but that guy is just an absolute baller, and he can play basketball.
Yeah.
It's not that many people can do what he does, so.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's my weak spot. I sort of get very tantalized by those sort of like big threes.
Yeah.
So I think Denver is a machine, but obviously they're quite flawed defensively. You can't really rule out Golden State.
Can you rule out the Bucks? Yeah.
Well, actually, I still think I like them to beat Miami. I think that sounds crazy, but especially after what happened in the last game. But
yeah, I just wonder if they maybe gave Giannis one too many games to rest. Perhaps. Don't know if it like I'm not too.
So you believe that keeping the players on the court and keeping them conditioned is better for them than resting them all the time? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
You're a Stan Van Gundy advocate.
I think that the situation that they've got themselves in now could possibly have been a little bit of pressure alleviated if Giannis had played the last game. And looking at how he fell, what he did, obviously without like a serious injury report to look at, it didn't look that bad. What do you reckon?
I think back injuries are, you can fall down one step and have terrible pain. Honestly, I think backs are so, and particularly when those like extremely elite athletes, they're already putting so much pressure and load onto their back. I'm surprised half of them haven't got herniated discs.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'm being too harsh, but yeah, I wanted them to get through though.
I think sometimes like Giannis is a very good example. I think sometimes we forget how superhuman these guys are.
Yeah.
It's like,
maybe
you just expect them just to
just pop
keep
up
playing with broken bones and
which your boy Fox with his broken shoe.
Of course he is. Come on.
Just put some tape on it, you'll be right.
That's it. All right, Malcolm Brogdon, 6th man of the year, PSA 10 silver, last sold for $41.
Yes. Yeah. That must have been quite recently. Was that today or yesterday?
It sold 3 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Brogdon is very up and down. In the last year, he sold for a maximum of 175. He's also sold for 144, and then actually his last price was the lowest. So look, so for me, buy, hold, or sell on this. I'm not really that interested in Malcolm Brogdon. I don't think he's anything particularly liquid, and I think this is the type of thing that you buy to bolster up your PC.
Yeah.
And because you love the guy, or you love the Celtics, or you love the Bucks because he's in a Bucks uniform as a rookie. And if that is the case, then you should be buying hard on Brogdon at the moment. And
yeah. Well, no, he's one of the ones that I was looking at, like just to refamiliarize myself with where he's coming from. So he was 2016 rookie year, round 2, pick 36.
Yeah.
So from that far down, like I guess he's done pretty well to get where he is at this point.
So okay. So that type of thing is, for me, is not even, it's not that it's not interesting, but so much emphasis is placed on youth and also athleticism in the NBA draft, so that skilled players who aren't great athletes and also who are older coming out of college will fall. So the other one is Draymond.
Yeah.
That's like the classic example of savant basketball players who can play the game at such a high level, but just, aren't great athletes, haven't got fantastic size.
Yeah.
So really that's where, Brogdon sort of fits into that. It's not that the guy can't play basketball. He's, he's just, you can't build a team around him. That's for sure. So this is the perfect role for him, really. Yeah.
Yeah. If you are interested in that card, I think the pop count is 124 for that, which is pretty low.
So are you going to pick one of these up?
So I had it at 61. Did you? 61.
You
Because
had
the
the last
Celtics
sold
were
it.
at 61 US. Did you have it at 41?
The last, looking at the graph I'm looking at, maybe we're looking at something different.
Yeah.
The last three I've got is 41, 52, 52, and then 65.
Yeah. I guess what you'd be looking at is, if the Celtics, if that's your PC, then that's worth picking up because, I mean, there's not that many of them.
That's a home run. If that's your PC, do it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But
Yeah.
I guess if you're looking to turn around and just sell it or, using it trade bait, you'd probably just be banking on them winning the championship. And then, but someone can already just go out and buy that. I don't think there's too many Malcolm Brogdon fans.
Yeah. So in the last 12 months, there's been 13 sales. So it's not something that's flipping left, right, and center.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think, the 124 Brogdon fans probably have one already.
Alrighty. Let's talk about Giannis.
Giannis, the big Greek freak.
Alrighty. So the last 2 years, Giannis is actually down 46%. And the last 12 months, he's down 45%. His last three sales was 15,000, 14,500, and 15,200. So
Yeah.
I think if I lived in this sort of utopia world and I could just afford anything, that seems actually like a pretty decent buy if it's down 45%.
Yeah, definitely. If I had a spare, what's the exchange rate?
So that'll be about like 27K, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if I had that lying around,
but
I don't know.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
So the real dollar change is 12,600. So when you say it like that,
Okay.
it's like it's a bargain,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely justify that.
Absolutely, yeah. So I suppose.
Yeah.
So my whole thing about, like cards like this, and so this is the perfect example. You start to look at other things. So what can you afford when it comes to Giannis?
Yeah, it'd be interesting just because the pop, like if you think the silver prism is the card, and being at a pop count of 89, unlikely to grow from that as well by too much, I would think, at this stage.
So
unless someone's sitting on a collection of, I don't know, a fair few of them and get them graded as well.
I think there's some cards that you anticipate, even if it's a lower grade, but it's like it's one of the big dogs or it's a numbered card that over time it will just trickle up slowly.
Yeah.
And so, I suppose the real question is with a card like that for Giannis is, has he hit the bottom or not?
Yeah. It depends, I guess, just what happens in the rest of his career, whether, they get up and, especially even just for this series, but if he ends up with, 2 or 3 championships, because he's sitting on the 1 at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah.
And pick up a few more MVPs, which I think is more than likely to happen as well.
I think he's more likely to win another chip than win an MVP.
Yeah.
Just particularly the way that, like, I think Bud is going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
And I really think he's a disciple of Pop, and so that load management is just part of their season. Like, it's not something that maybe we'll do, maybe we won't. It's like they're not rushing people back. They're giving them, designated breaks. And I think that is definitely going to hurt him when it comes to MVP voting. And actually, in the last collective bargaining agreement they've actually put in clauses to say that you need to play X amount of games, to be eligible
for
MVP, for all NBA, for all those major awards. And the premise behind that is to encourage people to actually play the games instead of be, load managed out, 30 games a season.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, which, I mean, just from like a fan's perspective, let's say, you're going over to America for a holiday and you go to a game, buy tickets to see the big players, and they're just like resting.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah,
you'd
be extremely disappointed.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
But I also say too, and just going back to that thing we were talking about before, we kind of forget these guys are human because they're so bionic. Like, I think playing 82 games plus playoffs Like that's crazy stuff, So the fact they take a day off here and there, actually, I don't fully begrudge them, even though, yes, I would be disappointed if I didn't see them.
Yeah.
Hey, going back to the point before about affording cards, so a BGS 9 base card, pop is $565. That last sold for $425 US. So the last 12 months it's actually down 42%. So
yeah,
I think
I wonder if you'd be better off buying a couple of those if you could, and then not have so much money tied up in one card.
I think the reason why I would lean for something like that is because I want a Giannis in my collection, just like I want a Joker in my collection. Like it's a very long-term sort of goal. But I think the only sort of counter argument to that is, I'm using air quotes now, you're investing in base, which I think, I think if we've learned anything from the last couple of years is just how invaluable base cards actually are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think for someone like this, I've missed the train, I think this is what I can afford. Still think this is a chase card for me, to be honest, despite the fact that it is base,
Yeah. Which, when I started looking at the pop count of the Giannis cards and Jimmy Butler, who's up next, that's what made me look at where they were drafted and how much interest people would have had in grading that card at that particular time. So, if you pull, I pulled a Juan Toscano rookie silver, and I'm like, well, that's just going to sit there. I don't think I'm going to get that graded. But, at some point, someone's graded those Giannis cards, possibly straight away, or the Jimmy Butler cards, considering where they are in the draft and, not being touted as the number one draft pick, like, LaMelo Ball or Paolo. People are going to be grading loads of those cards. Whereas, if you're thinking about, I can't, not off the top of my head, I can't think of it, but just say the 30th draft pick from last year, I don't know how many cards he's going to get graded like immediately, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So Jimmy Butler was 30, pick 30 in round one, and he's sort of made his career out of that. So the pop report for his silver Prizm PSA. Did you have that at 21?
Yeah, 21, and it last sold for $898 USD. And in the last 12 months, he's down 65%.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like 21 of those to be out there, and considering his performance in the playoffs so far, that might be a sneaky little pickup, Russ. Do you reckon?
So if you want a sneaky little pickup here, his Raw last sold for $225. Now, I will admit the two sales before that were $500, so the equation dramatically changes if you're paying $225 or $500 for it. But if you're picking it up for $225, potentially flipping that into a PSA 10 and it's selling for nearly $900, I think you're onto something with a pop of 21.
Yeah, especially considering, would you say he's got the Ferrugia factor?
I think he's the anti-Ferrugia factor.
Yeah.
I think he's a little bit on sort of the crazy train or the slightly unhinged train.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think if we're being honest about the Miami Heat, they're the opposite of dynamic.
Yeah, yeah.
And whilst I respect and I love that type of basketball that's just an engine that runs and they just generate points out of motion and, sets that just sort of feed off, particular like situations. Like I think, they're a very well coached team, but I just don't think that.
Yeah, he's definitely not someone that I would collect. For me.
Yeah, and I think that's probably how the general sort of population sits, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I'm not spending $900 on a silver PSA 10 Jimmy.
Nah, I think there's a few different things. You think of how many Şengün raw silvers you could pick up for that.
I was actually just thinking like a low grade Giannis I could get. Like you could almost be able to get like a sneaky silver, to be honest.
Yeah. You could almost have the monopoly on Şengün.
Alrighty, let's talk Tyler Herro because he has been an absolute hobby darling, and I would also say in a lot of ways he's also maybe someone to think of in terms of why you should or shouldn't speculate on particular people.
Yeah, again, being part of that Miami team, it's not someone that I would sort of look at to collect for me personally.
But the funny thing about this guy was he was doing crazy numbers. Like
Yeah,
and look, it was definitely because of the pandemic, or it was part of the pandemic. So his
yeah,
all-time high price was 1,400 USD.
yeah. That's wild, and it'd be interesting
He last
because
sold for $100.
yeah, imagine taking that kick
Mm.
in the teeth. Yeah, like I mean, I know COVID, took 3 years basically, but there was only wait, when was he? When was he rookie class?
So he's 19. So that's after Luca. So
That,
that's the
that's
Ja
after,
Morant year.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, sorry,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, but I think for me, so if you're spending $1,000 on that, I think that is really, what were you speculating on to spend $1,000 on that? That it was
yeah,
going to be a $3,000 card? And I suppose, my question is, if you had that $1,000 again, what would you be better spending it on?
yeah. It's looking because like I mean that would have to be almost the ceiling of where
Yeah,
his price would get to.
if he has an exceptional career, and I got to be honest with you, I think at that time he hadn't even really developed an like off the dribble game. Because my recollection was he really stepped up when he played in the bubble.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe that's it. Maybe the people just sitting at home watching basketball, looking at this guy playing well, and going, "Oh, he's going to be an absolute jet."
Yeah,
I'm gonna, I'm gonna put some money into it because I've got nothing else to do. Speculate on the card market, and
yeah.
then just yeah,
So
lose out. Like let's just say that let's say the all time high was the person that just sold their card for $100. So you've taken, was it $1,400 hit?
yeah, $1,300. But yeah, sure, 1,400, 1,300.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it, like, even if you had that card, like, would you think that this would be an odd time to sell that card?
I think now's a good time to sell when people are in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah. I just think maybe if you just, well, yeah, looking at where they are now, like after winning, um, and with the Bucks looking down the barrel, if they get into the second round, that's when I would sort of think. But maybe I'm just overthinking that a bit too much
Look,
as a seller.
I think in the short term, maybe a little bit, just for the fact that it's actually for me a little bit ironic in some ways, because I think people hold and hold and hold. Okay, I'm going to hold until the playoffs and sell, but then everyone else is doing the same thing. And actually,
Yeah,
then like it trends down a bit because there's all these like cards come out.
yeah,
So, look, I got to say to you, for Tyler Hero, I think at $100, that's a very good buy. I
yeah,
know that's maybe even sacrilegious for the fact that there's 846 of them. That's just of the silver PSA 10s, but I think moving forward and even longer term, I think $100 is a totally fine risk to take on that guy. I think he's
yeah,
very talented.
yeah. I think
Yeah,
at $100, yeah, that'd be not too bad. I think obviously someone that's taken the risk at 1,500 or 1,400, whatever it was, is
let's move on. Let's move on.
all right. So
So look,
we had
I think we've been tiptoeing around this guy for like 2 years. Can I be honest with you? And now I
oh
actually have an objective reason to talk about him.
yeah, Fox.
So Jaron Fox wins the inaugural Clutch Player of the Year award.
They had to invent an award for him because they didn't quite fit into any of the other categories.
That was low. How dare you?
No, he's been extremely useful in the playoffs as well. Like obviously did well enough throughout the season to get them there as well.
So look,
Um,
I think if he didn't get that award, I think people would still be looking at him playing because he's playing against the Warriors.
yeah,
So there's one part of me, it was like the worst possible matchup for the Kings was going to be the Warriors. And of course, that's who they got. But then I think on the flip side of that, in terms of hobby value, the best thing that happened for this guy was he's matched up with the Warriors because he's going head to head with Steph and playing quite well.
Yeah.
And if you like a romantic story and you want to generate a storyline about the passing of the torch, look, there's a very strong argument this year that the winner isn't going to be the Warriors and it's not going to be LeBron James and the Lakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of looking forward to something a bit different in terms of that. I don't know if you ever find, like, I get bored of successful people keep on being successful. Like,
only time I've ever been bored in the last 10 years with basketball was when that Kevin Durant went to the Warriors. Like, you knew they were going to win the championship.
Yeah.
Like that, honestly, other than that, actually, I think the last couple of years has been really good. I think there's been a lot of variation and a lot of, like, dare I say it, luck,
Yeah, which definitely adds to the romanticism of that kind of aspect of basketball. So if let's just say the Phoenix, well, you're probably after the Fox, but if Phoenix Suns come through and win it, like, for like a bit of a change up and having Devin Booker, get up there, like that's a good story. And if, like, what do you think Sacramento's chances of even getting past the Warriors?
Honestly, zero.
I think there might be a chance, like a pretty good one as well. Oh, depending, because Fox has his injury now, so I guess that's changed a bit. I've been feeling optimistic about it though.
Look, I think there's always a chance. So saying zero is, that I think I'm just trying to be honest about the situation. Like, the Warriors are just such a much more well-established team. They've got veteran players all over the court. Like, the Kings are very dependent really on three players having outstanding games each game, and it only sort of takes one of those three to not have a fantastic game, and that's it. Whereas, really the Warriors, let's just say Steph doesn't have a good game, they've still got Clay, they've still got Jordan Poole, dare I say it, they've still got Wiggins. Actually, do you want a hot take on the Warriors?
Yeah.
I actually thought they looked better when Draymond was suspended. And Wiggins played the 4 and they started Poole. So it sort of pushed Clay to the 3.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. And also, the way that he was yelling at the crowd. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's definitely a confident alpha male.
Yeah, I just thought it made me uncomfortable. It's just, well, for him, like, I was like, oh, it's just I found it embarrassing for him. I don't know if you felt that way at all.
Definitely not. I don't think he cared. I literally think he was just eating up the moment and loving every bit of it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to Fox. I'm tired of talking about Draymond Green.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Current price is $350. He's actually up 114% on the last 6 months. So he was really, really, really down. His silver PSA 10s were going like for 150. Like, I could not believe it. Like, like literally, I'd been paying double that, sort of 12 months before. So I was like, this is fantastic for me.
Yeah. Did you scoop many up at that price?
I think I got 4 or 5. Yeah.
That's good.
Well, the way I was trying to reassure myself was I was trying to average out some of the other stuff that I overpaid for.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good way to do it.
That's where I was sort of doing it, but
lower your average cost.
My sort of problem is a little bit with Fox is I'm a little bit reluctant to let go.
Yeah.
So even though there's a part of my mind's like, oh yes, I should be selling some of these. Like,
yeah. It's when your PC gets mixed up into
your heart.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess. I mean, so that's your PC guy. So, what's the ceiling on him, do you think? Like, maybe a better question would be, what price would you be comfortable selling at?
So I think if he goes to, say, 500, I think I'll probably just try and sell the lot.
Yeah.
And then buy something amazing.
Yeah, right. So just almost like just level up your PC.
Yeah, like a Flawless or, National Treasures or, sort of something, you know what I mean? Something like that. I think that's probably what I would do. But I'm not sure with Fox, to be honest. I mean, there's a lot of talk that he'll be all NBA this year, whether it's, second or third team.
Yeah.
And again, he's still like a really young guy. Really similar to Booker, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess leveling up is a good plan, particularly when you've got so many. Like, let's just say you wanted to keep one of those silver prisms, you could probably do that as well, and still make money on the last couple that you've bought, if that's your goal. Like, if you're just trying to level up your PC.
Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't really thought about this.
Yeah.
Because I normally only sell when I've got a very distinct reason to do so.
Yeah.
Like,
but we just see the birth of hear the birth of an idea.
What's this?
So to get a flawless. So are you talking about RPA or for?
So what I mean
Fox?
is like, I'll sell some of my PC off, but it's usually like there's a means to that end. It's because I want to buy another card, or I've got sort of something else like in mind, I suppose. So, but I have to buy that other card first. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say to you. There has to be a very good reason to do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think. Look, I'd probably say at the moment, I think now is the wrong time to be buying Fox.
Yeah,
I just
definitely.
wonder if he's just a little bit sort of overcooked at the moment, and then he'll probably trend down just a little bit in the off season. So, I think if I'm going to buy that, one, pretty special card, maybe that will be the better time to sort of, save up and do so. And the other thing I've actually noticed a lot recently, there's a lot more sort of higher end Fox coming out at the moment.
Yeah.
So again, maybe once everything cools off a little bit, people might make one or two sort of regretful purchases and they'll come back for sale again in the off season. That's what I'm maybe sort of going through my head at the moment.
Unless they do extremely well in the next little bit.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like why are we, buying and selling now? Like maybe it's better just to keep buying up and wait for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, well, because I mean, he's got them to where they are now, and the outlook for the next couple of years, you'd imagine that it would sort of keep going that way. I know that's maybe looking through rose-colored glasses, but I think he's going to do quite well with his team in the coming years, coming seasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Last one in the run sheet is Paolo Banchero. So talk to me about Paolo. Where do you sit with this guy? Do you think what I want from you is a comp. Because my comp for him is Grant Hill.
I actually, because you've watched a fair bit of Orlando this season, haven't you?
I've probably watched more Orlando than I've watched Kings, to be honest.
Yeah, I really haven't watched that much. So to give a comparison, would probably I wouldn't be able to give one. I don't think. But yeah, I don't know if I'd be comfortable giving one without that, having watched him too often.
That's okay. What's your early impressions of him?
I think he's pretty good. Like he's pretty impressive with like dunking. Everyone likes dunking.
Sure.
And
so he's a good athlete. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big stats guy, so I generally look at points, rebounds, assists. So to see him in his rookie year, with quite a high average for his points, I'd have to go back a few games to find him, wouldn't I? But in terms of his card value, I'm seeing people paying a lot of money for his cards.
That's
especially on the pages. Like he's the chase for that year, and I think it's head and shoulders above the rest in terms of that rookie class.
Yeah, 100%. He should have been unanimous for rookie of the year, and that person who didn't vote for him their vote should be removed from them. I think honestly that's a disgrace. So I want to argue the toss with you on the pricing point that you just said then. So Silver Prizm rookie sold for $77 USD, right?
Yeah.
Now to buy into a break for Orlando, it costs, I'm just looking at an Australian break page, $120.
Yeah.
So I actually think for me that's hideously undervalued at 77. So Jimmy Butler's 250.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Paulo's a third of that? That's to steal from our friends at Sports Cards Nonsense. That's nonsense.
Yeah. I think we were talking about this before with like even just say the price of a box or particularly buying into that break. If you're pretty savvy with what you're doing and you've got a particular card in mind of what you want, whether it be a particular rookie or a silver Prizm rookie, I think before you buy into that break, you should probably have a look on eBay or have a look, express some interest through some of the groups and see if anyone has that card for, around comps. I think that would be a smart way to play it if you're after that particular card.
Yeah.
Unless you like going into breaks and sort of. But I'm not sure what else you'd hit from Orlando.
Suggs, Wagner, their second year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I think that sort of conversation piece, like you could almost do a segment on that, to be honest, like for a podcast.
Yeah.
But like really quickly, yes, there's a very strong argument at the moment whether you should buy sealed or singles at the moment. And again, like we'll talk about this off air, it really depends on how you want to interact with the hobby and, what you enjoy doing. Look, I actually quite enjoy going in breaks and just the general theatre of it, if you want to use that for lack of a better word, or entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, there is a social aspect to it too, isn't there?
Definitely.
So if you're sitting there and there's 20 people all invested in watching this and excited when someone gets something and someone might crack it if that if there's one autograph in the box and comes out for a particular team or whatever, there is that social aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
So that can be sort of enjoyable and a part of why it's fun to go into breaks, and you
definitely.
get the card as well. So
I'll just say though, my spending, like I'm very big on this. Like and I'm almost like religious about it. I spend in equal portions on singles and sealed and breaks. And so that's how I sort of manage that like part of it. So even if I get nothing from breaks, at least I'll get a single off eBay or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way to manage that as well.
Yeah.
Particularly, because I know getting into breaks can be a bit dangerous for some people as well. They just like keep going into breaks, and like, as much fun as they are, like the return, particularly if you're looking just to not lose money, buying those single cards, the way that you do it, I think, that's a good foundation to sort of back that up.
Yeah. And I think probably for me too, the way I look at it a little bit is like longevity. Like I don't want to shoot all my money in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
I do want it to
definitely
last 2 years. You know what I mean? Like,
well, let's just say you had $300, and it's not going to get you that much. Let's just say if you just had breaks and singles, so you didn't have really the option of sealed.
Yeah, which is a very like valid thing at the moment because of how expensive sealed is.
Yeah. So, you don't want to be spending $250 on breaks and potentially getting base cards, and then having $50 left over. You want to sort of be splitting that up.
Yeah.
Possibly even, maybe have $100 for breaks and $200 for singles, or depending on what you're comfortable with and what percentage.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Nah, that's good.
Yeah. Hey man, we've just clicked over an hour and 15.
Cool. Yeah.
So why don't we tie this bad boy off?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Aidos, thank you.
No, thanks for having me, Russ, and thanks for providing the entertainment weekly with you and ads. So yeah, thanks for having me. I hope it wasn't too boring from me. But,
we'll let the listeners decide, Aidos.
Yeah, notice I would guess get roasted. But that's fine. Pretty thick skin. No, cool. Right. All right.
Thanks everyone for listening. Have a lovely week, and we'll see you all soon. Thanks, guys.